your eyes on me. We can ride it through this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Keep your eyes on me. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Song on my skin, I count like shooting star, you can never resist. Rap pick my member, just my business. You might clear this in the ceiling, could be a limit. I'm coming to tell you we're upside down. Suddenly we can't stay but toe down. Play yo-yo to keep me turned on, spin me up. Yeah, wait, don't stop, don't stop. Got a better free, better all mine. Made my own pass, never rewind, yeah. Shouldn't speed it up, waste my whole life, yeah. So keep your eyes on me. We can ride it through this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Keep your eyes on me. We can ride it through this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Song on my skin, I count like shooting star, you can never resist. Rap pick my member, just my business. You might clear this in the ceiling, could be a limit. I'm coming to tell you we're upside down. Suddenly we can't stay but toe down. Play yo-yo to keep me turned on, spin me up. Yeah, wait, don't stop, don't stop. Got a better free, better all mine. Made my own pass, never rewind, yeah. Shouldn't speed it up, waste my whole life, yeah. So keep your eyes on me. We can ride it through this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down.
Well, hello, and welcome back to another stream of Part 2 Lore Q&A. How are you doing? Let me know if you can hear me. Hello. It's been a while since the last Lore Q&A stream. It's good to hear you coming in clear. Awesome, and thank you for tuning in. Hello Helix, hello Ajax, Kifune, everybody who tuned in. Doing Memorial Arena 10 minutes. I can see you're grinding. I'm such a lazy bum when it comes to Memorial Arena. I usually clear. I never try to go for high scores. I just clear it to get the rewards. But I saw that some people are very dedicated to get a high score. But yeah, Memorial Arena is one of my least favorite game modes in Honkai Impact 3rd. What myriad rank are you? I'm not. I think only once I was ranked in myriad. I'm in Red Lotus right now, so there's no chance for me to be ranked in myriad. I'm not that sweaty when it comes to this game. I usually stay between Red Lotus and Nirvana. Lately, I've been staying a lot more in Red Lotus since the game has become a lot more competitive because fewer players and because it's very easy to gear up part 2 teams and get you a decent team to clear content. So I haven't been promoting to Nirvana that much lately. But even when I promote, I very rarely retain. I usually come back, so no myriad for me. You're sweaty when it comes to lore. Yeah, you see, I would much rather read the lore or rewatch a chapter rather than be sweaty in Abyss or Memorial Arena. Try playing NA, you will demote even if myriad, lol. Really? It's that bad? I would like to have an explanation about permanence for someone that doesn't play Honkai Impact 3rd. Okay, so one thing that I liked about this chapter compared to chapter 5 is that it doesn't really shove the Star lore in your face. I think they did a good explanation on Naharlap's past, and they mentioned that she's a sign of permanence and that she's a dragonkin, which there were also some funky translations on the global site again that don't really align with HSR. I saw some people pointing out that in some instances they translated the word sign of permanence as sign of permanence, and in other instances they translated it as dragonkin. But it's whatever. The path of permanence in Star Rail comes from one of the eons, Long, who, as the name suggests, is is depicted to look like a dragon, and it is said that he's the progenitor of basically all the dragons in the universe, more or less, because of course we have no confirmation about that, and we see some dragons in Genshin, even if Honkai Impact Third, which are like Benares and Kurikara, which aren't really dragons, are Honkai beasts that look like dragons. But the thing is that if you see a dragon in the Honkai series, chances are that it's a sign of permanence, and it's basically a descendant from Long. Now, Long is an Eon that is said to be missing, in the sense that we don't really know what happened to them. But they are not active, and its descendants are called the signs of permanence. And the only prevalent example that we have in Honkai Star Rail about them are the Vidiadara. By the way, which I have a video about on my channel. You can find it, where I talk about Dan Heng, who is one of the main characters in Honkai Star Rail, who is also Vidiadara. So if you want to learn more about them, you can search up that video on my channel. But yeah, basically she's the descendant of an Eon that is missing right now. I haven't played Honkai Impact Third in a bit. Is Mistalin still lore relevant? Well, as far as you know, Mistalin right now is on Phosphorus together with Gricio, but hey, she appears in some of the events, so even in the current event, she appears. So, which happens in a bubble world. So, hey, if you want more Mistalin content, you can get some, but the main story Mistalin is still stuck with Gricio and Phosphorus. Yeah, James is trying his best. They said that their journey through the history of Mars in the quantum computer was an endless samsara. So what makes this current journey even a history that actually took place? I don't really understand the question, Helix. They said that the journey through the history of Mars in the quantum computer was an endless samsara. It was an endless samsara in the fact that they kept failing, they kept dying, and they kept failing in the first level, which was the Langshan, Osha, and the perception stuff. They kept failing and dying to perception, and they kept restarting. It was a samsara in that sense. How many years behind is Honkai Impact Third compared to Star Rail? We don't have a clear answer to that, but we can theorize a little bit. But it's a few years, because we know that the events right now happen in 2024. APHO happens in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there is a little bit of funky stuff, because if you look into some of the dates and at the fact that Hylia and Coralie went to Mars, they found the Dreamseeker terminal, they brought it back. You might make an argument that the current part 2 is a little bit further in time than we think, but we still have no confirmation, so I would still like to say that we are in 2024. But the idea is that we are not in APHO yet, and we all know we have the Alien Space manga with Wealth and Void Archives that states that the events in that manga happen in 2029, which some people think that it's a retcon date. I don't really want to talk about that. I personally don't consider it as retcon yet. But there are some ambiguities about the date, and I can see the argument. But the idea is that Alien Space happens in 2029. And we have confirmation that Wealth has been with the Express for a few years. I have it noted down at least 2 or 3 years if I'm not mistaken. So at the earliest, Honkai Star Rail might be in 2020, in 2032, 2033 at the earliest. It might be a lot more. We do not know. But if I have to say a date around that time, so Star Rail would be at least about 8 years in the future from where we are now in part 2. But again, take that with a grain of salt. It might be more. Vidiadara, yes, they are a long-lived species that basically live eternally, but they every hundreds of years they go through a process known as hatching and rebirth, where just like Naharalab did in chapter 9, when she basically became the stone monument at Senadina's grave, and she was then reincarnated and reborn as a new entity, which is Nana. In the same way, Vidiadara, which is this species, long-lived species that you can find on the Xianzhou ships in Honkai Star Rail, do something similar, where they go through a reincarnation process and they hatch again as new individuals. They lose all their memories of their previous lives with some funky stuff here and there, but the gist is that they lose all the memories of their previous lives, just like Nana did, and are reborn as new people. And while technically they live forever, you can make an argument that they don't really, because even if your physical body can be reborn every few centuries, if your mind gets a restart and you're basically a new person when you reincarnated, are you the same person? Do you live forever? It's a very, very interesting philosophical thought that you can ponder. Hey Homo, I just want to say that I love your content and wish you good luck. Hey, thank you. Hey Homo, what do you think about the firefly lore bits in the story? Could Naha witness the war at Glamoth? I mean, I thought about that, and we know that Narlalab visited many different worlds, so she could have, but I'm not really sure. I don't think we have enough evidence to draw a conclusion on that, but it's an interesting theory. We'll just have to wait and learn more about her. They say, okay, I want to make something clear. Please refrain from talking about stuff from Chapter 9EX, which just released in China a few weeks or days back. One, I don't want to spoil people who are global only, and second, I personally have no idea what happened. I was on vacation when that chapter released, and I didn't really have the time to go over it, to look at translations and check it out with other people from the Honkai Impactor Lore community. So I basically have no idea what's happening in Chapter 9EX. Okay, that's a lie. I have some vague ideas because I saw some of the CGs on social media. But I didn't really go deep into the chapter, so I have a very surface level understanding based on the CGs and 1 or 2 posts that I saw on Twitter. So you won't be spoiling other people, but you will also be spoiling me, because I don't even plan to go and check things out until they will be released on Global. what really are the shadow powers, a harsher power or another power? I mean, we don't really know. We know that it's the authority that Senadina possessed and that she passed down to Layla, and she, when she became the goddess of Mars, and she commanded the authority of the shadows, and she was also the one responsible for the shadow calamity. But we don't really know the source or the origin of the power. Also, how was Nehralab able to enter the Honkai Impact Earth solar system? Wasn't there something preventing everyone from entering and leaving? Not sure how the Garden of Recollection made contact with Kiana. I mean, the Garden of Recollection usually has their own ways, because we know that they were also aware of Amphorius in Honkai Star Rail, and to some degree they were able to infiltrate. But how Nehralab got inside the Honkai Impact Earth solar system, we do not know. We just know that they came here. They might have arrived before the Cocoon of Finality. That could be... if we assume that the Cocoon is the one that is preventing other and is hiding our solar system, they might have arrived before the Cocoon, because we know that Mars existed 1 million years ago, and it's basically the oldest civilization in our whole solar system that we know about. So that maybe at that time the solar system wasn't hidden yet. Can Nana, Dragon Coralie and Cyber Hylia powers exist outside the system? Yes, we even saw them. You can... I don't think I talked with her. Yes, she's right here. You can see Hylia right here outside of the solar system. The quantum computer. She's right here using her armor. And if you played the second part of the mini game, the Space Ranger Graveyard of Stars, you can see Coralie transforming while she's on the ship into her dragon form. So yes, they can both use their powers even outside the solar, the solar system, the quantum computer, which is very good, because I honestly was afraid that Hoyo would nerf them and say that they can only use these powers inside the quantum computer, but that's not the case. They have them even outside. How about Sparkle? Again, we have no idea how they got here, because while we can make the excuse for Nehralab, we have really no excuse for Sparkle. Unless just like the Memo Keepers and the Garden of Recollection, maybe the Elation also has some ways to overcome the barriers, because we know that the masked foes are like the Mr. and Mrs. Worldwide in the Honkai universe. They are everywhere. And also, I wouldn't really think too much about Sparkle, because if you read the developer interviews for the collab, they pretty much said that they chose Sparkle for the collab because she's just chaotic, and because she's just a masked fool, and she's aware that she's in a story and a game and can break the fourth wall. It would just be funny and make sense for her to be the collab character. I don't know if the characters in the ship are canon. One time we had Sushang too, but she was never about the Harpedon 11 during that time. I remember that she was there last patch, but why do you say that wasn't canon? Because she literally says when you talk to her that she just came to visit, to look around. And even if you want to say that the interactions of on the ship are not canon, okay, let's go with that. The event with Coralie and Hylia, that is canon, so that's a fact. What are your thoughts about Long and the future plot of Honkai Impact 3rd? Honestly, I don't really know. I am also curious where they are going with this. I said a few weeks ago when Honkai Star Rail released the trailer about the Lord Ravagers, and we know that there's Sun Devourer, who is the Lord Ravager, who is also after the path of permanence and voracity, and that maybe the Honkai Impact 3rd solar system will attract them, because we have a sign of permanence here, and from what we see in our lab is a pretty powerful entity. She's not just your ordinary Vidiadara. She on the scale of power, she looks a lot higher up than your ordinary scion of permanence. So maybe that could be a future plot point where the Lord Ravager, Sun Devourer, will be attracted to the Honkai Impact 3rd solar system because of that. Because keep in mind, Long is missing, but his path still remains, because just because a neon is gone, that doesn't mean that their path is also gone. As long as there are entities that walk that path, the path will remain, unless it's assimilated by another eon. But we know that the path of permanence is still there. So that could be interesting. And of course we also have APHO and Mara and the Sky People, and how will all these things be tied together. And we know that Mara is behind the Sky People, but what if there is more about them than just that? Maybe what if when Mara left the solar system, she also met the gaze of an eon and joined a faction or something like that? So that there are a lot of variables and a lot of ways that they could go with the story. What are scions? Scions are basically, like the name suggests, are scion of Slong, the Eon of Permanence, are his children basically. Yes, Angel, you're right. Honkai Impact 3rd solar system has a special barrier, not just a normal imaginary barrier. This was confirmed by the Memo Keeper in Chapter 5 when they talked with Kiana. Why is the barrier still there even after Kiana took the authority of the Cocoon, unless she willingly kept the barrier? We have no idea. Again, we do not know. And I would also like to get those answers, and I would also like to have a way to wake Kiana up, or at least reach her consciousness to get some answers. If the Sky People were able to find Earth in APHO, doesn't that mean that the barrier was down by then, since they came from the deep space? Not necessarily, because we know that Mara and the Sky People have a way to circumvent the barrier by using the... I have a lapsus, I forgot how they were called. Guys, please remind me how... yeah, the stargates. Thank you, Angel. basically they can circumvent that by using the stargates, and they can come into the solar system even if the barrier is in place. Yes, the stargates. Sorry guys, I was on vacation, so my mind is still on vacation sometimes, so I might forget a term or two. But luckily I hope that you will be able to remind me. How do you think they're going to make sense of the Sea of Quanta in HSR? I feel like it's too tied to Honkai Impact Third and Honkai Impact Third characters themselves. Well, that's interesting, and I also already think that if you look at Penacony, right, and the memory zone, which is very similar to and Memoria itself, which are concepts that are very similar to the Sea of Quanta, and we know that the Sea of Quanta basically mutates based on the location it is, because we also learned that the Sea of Quanta around Mars is not the same as the Sea of Quanta around Earth. So I think that the Sea of Quanta by itself is a very localized thing. So as you said, it feels like the Sea of Quanta as we know it is very, very tied to Honkai Impact Third, because we only explored the Sea of Quanta around the world of Honkai Impact Third. But from how things stand, the Sea of Quanta might be very, very different around other worlds, so they might make something unique with it and present it to us in a way that we are not really familiar with in Honkai Impact Third. A follow-up to my first questions: the 10 Shoes war timeline actually took place before Songche and the others became Shoes, so the timeline is actually the route after dealing with perception storyline. So if you want to go by the timeline, the first arc, which are chapters 1 to 3, when we met the 10 Shoes and Songche for the first time, actually happens after the second arc, which is chapters 5 through 9EX. But we know that in the second arc, which is the Reimu arc, we actually change the history, so the events don't really lead to the same conclusion that we have at the beginning of chapter 1. So while timeline-wise the second arc happens before the first arc, you can take each arc as its own level in a video game, where we go and make alterations in order to defeat the source of the shadow calamity in that respective level. So while there is a true timeline of Mars which goes from the second arc into the first arc, with our presence there we basically alternate the history. So the conclusion that we see in chapter 9, it's not really the conclusion that happened in the real history. But yeah, basically the second arc happens before the first arc. Hi, could you explain the cosmology of Honkai Impact Third, Honkai Star Rail? I'm to this day confused about the galaxy, the worlds, example planets are on different branches of the imaginary tree, hence character variants. I would need for you to ask me some more specific questions, because it's very general. If you want, I have 2 videos on my channel, but I think you will be more interested in a video that is called explaining the Honkai universe, mistranslations and use of terminology in the Honkai series, where I talk about how different games use the terminology in different way in the English localization, while in Chinese is more consistent, and that gives a lot of people a wrong idea about the cosmology. But yeah, basically each world in the most basic sense is represented by a solar system, and each solar system is separated by a barrier of imaginary energy. Now, the way that the Honkai series uses the word world can apply to any 3D structure in space. So you also have to use a little bit of context in order to deduce when they say world what they are talking about, because they could talk about the world itself, aka the solar system. They could use word to talk only about a planet in that solar system. They could use word to talk about the Shenzhou ship, which is basically a giant ship that just goes through a world. So it's a little bit complicated, but I really recommend checking out that video that I have on my channel. You can sort by most views. It's literally one of my most viewed videos, and I think that it would clear a lot more of your confusion. Got it, thanks. No worries. How long do you think that part 2 will go on for Honkai Impact 3? Honkai Impact 3 gets a big overhaul every 2 years. APH01 2020, APH2 2022, part 2 2024. So wouldn't APH3 be 2026, or will part 2 go on longer? I don't know, honestly. I do not know. I would assume that it would go on for at least a couple of years, but I can totally see them doing something big for the next year. One, because it's the 10-year anniversary, so I wouldn't put it past them to bring out APH03 next year. And maybe just like APHO 1 and 2 went along with the main story, maybe we can have APHO 3 going along with the story of part 2. Or maybe, which I don't think it's the case, but never say never, you know, they could in fact end part 2 next year. I can also see that, although I think it's very unlikely, and go directly into the APHO timeline. But yeah, we just have to wait and see. But I do think that next year they will give us something big, either APHO3 or maybe something else, because it's the 10th year anniversary, and and funnily enough, next year it's also 2026, which is the same year in which APHO happens. So yeah, that's also interesting to think about. Maybe they are cooking something. Does the big robot final boss in APHO has any connection to the robot that Vita has? I don't think there are any direct connections, but it's very interesting because we know that the Sky People are basically SAS cleaners that were took over by Mara. So in a way, you can say that they have the same origin, which is Sa. But yeah, other than that, I'm not really sure if there is any connection. How do Haley and Coralie can keep their powers outside the computer? Because Hyperion 11 they appear with the new forms. I mean, it seems that they fully inherited that power, and it's not just outside the computer. They could use them even not just inside the computer. They can use them even outside. I mean, we saw that Revenge Spirit, which is the alter Hylia, was able to manifest in Hylia's mind even outside of the quantum computer. So that's already a hint to the fact that it's not too far-fetched that her power can be used outside. And regarding Coralie, I mean, she inherited the power of the permanence, which is we know from Star Rail that that's a palpable power that that many use. Even Dan Heng uses a similar power. So in a way, she basically became a pet strider of permanence. But not really. They never mentioned that she is a pet strider, only that she is using the power of the permanence. So it's up to you how you interpret it. If you want to think that it's the same thing as a pet strider or something else, or just she's just a sign of permanence. Hopefully they will bring back the short animations. I mean, we can hope. I just posted recently a video where I shared my thoughts about animated shorts. And by the way, someone posted a very interesting comment there, and I have no way to verify the validity of that comment. Maybe that person could talk out of their ass. I do not know, but they said that after the ending of part 1, the contract that Hoyo had with Wandarium, which is the studio that they used to make the animated shorts, has ended. And that is why we never got any animated shorts afterward. And if you look at all the HSR animated shorts and Genshin animated shorts that come after that, they are all done in-house, or there's another studio they collaborate with that also did the summer animation last year for Honkai Impact 3rd. So I don't think I saw Wandarium working on any Hoyo related thing after part 1 ended. So maybe that's the reason, but again, take it with a grain of salt. I tried to ask some people to verify that information, but I have no official source to say that. Or maybe the simulation is not really simulation at all. I mean, we saw that Litost had powers that affected Coralie outside of the simulation. So we know that at least the people that come from that are aliens are not from Mars have some sort of authority that can affect the people outside of the simulation. And I assume that that's the same thing with Naralab as well, since Litost was able to damage Coralie's body outside the simulation. I imagine that Naralab also has the same authority to give Coralie's power outside of the simulation. How is your WUA experience? Do you plan on putting out any content on that? I played to end, think Honkai Impact 3rd and WUA have the best stories overall right now. Presentation, narrative, pacing. I'm really enjoying WUA, and like I said, I think it's at least for me, it's the best experience in any gacha game for me right now. Overall experience, because when it comes to story, I think Honkai Impact 3rd it's still my favorite. WUA is a hit or when it comes to the story, WUA has some things that I'm not really the biggest fan of. So some stories are hit or miss for me. But some stories like 2.5, the entire quest with Prolova was very good. I really enjoyed that, and I want to make content on it. It's very hard to find time to do it, because for example, next week I have to do an HSR video because I have a sponsor, so it must be done. After that I want to do a Honkai Impact 3rd video explaining what happened in chapter 9. And after that, who knows what other idea or other thing will appear. So I don't really have time to make WUA content, but I would really like. And I've been pondering doing a video about Prolova, but I'm not sure when I'll have the time. Or maybe I'll do something, I'll put together something, but on the editing department it won't be very well put together, because the thing that consumes most of my time and blocks me the most is the editing. And I said that yesterday on the stream as well. I would love to hire an editor. That would save me so much time and would allow me to put out so much more content. But unfortunately, right now I do not have the funds to do that. Because I need to save money to get a new PC, because my PC is very old and it's barely keeping up. I just cleaned it last week of dust, and it's so hot here where I am that every time I try to play a more demanding game, it just shuts down because it's overheating, and I have a lot of problems with it. So I really need this year to put some money aside to get a new PC. And after that, I'll see if I can put something aside from an editor. But yeah, that's the main issue. Did you ever play Arknights? Yes, I did play in the past. Cool game, cool story, cool design, cool aesthetic, but unfortunately tower defense is not for me. It's not a genre of games that I particularly enjoy. Time to get a Kuro sponsor. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I tried, but the issue with Kuro is that they want to see that I do WoA content before sponsoring me. So they were like, we first want you to do some WoA content first, and if we like it, we'll sponsor you in the future. And I was like, but sponsor me to do the content first. One step at a time, don't push yourself too hard. Well, I try my best, especially after the whole mess this year with my surgery and with the recovery. Trust me, after what I've been through, I prioritize my health. The first thing, because I could grind like a madman and take no breaks and grind content when I have free time, and I would probably be able to do it, but I don't want to do it because I don't want to risk and re-injure myself. Are you Filipino? No, I'm from Romania, European. You know your PC is sold if even Honkai Impact Third struggles to run. Honestly, I don't really have issues with Honkai Impact Third. I mostly have issues with Wuthering Waves, with Persona 5 Phantom X, and even with HSR, but I never had issues with Honkai Impact Third, funnily enough. But mostly with WoA and Persona 5 Phantom X. And also HSR, but HSR only if I played for a very long time, like if I played more than 3-4 hours at a time. But WoA, I was barely able to finish the Prolova story, because every 30 minutes it just kept randomly shutting down because of overheating. But yeah, hopefully this will improve after summer goes away and the temperature outside and in the house will tone down a bit. I don't have air conditioning because we don't really use it in Romania. It's not common for us to have an air conditioning in our house because it's only hot mostly 3 months per year, so it's not that worth. But yeah. Any other questions about Honkai Impact Third Lore? I'm sorry if I missed any questions. I sometimes chat goes very fast and I take my time answering questions, so I might miss a question or two. But if I didn't answer it, please ask again. It's probably because I did not see it. Given all the simulation, is there any point in saving people since it's all resetting anyway? Vita even blew away everything one time. I mean that it's up to you and how do you interpret the simulations, but they made it very clear that these simulations they are basically real people with real feelings. The only difference is that they exist inside the quantum computer. So I can see the argument that people feel that there are not enough stakes when it comes to the fate of the Seven Shoes or the other people in the simulation. But Honkai Impact 3 was never really about that. Take Elysian Realm, for example. Do you think that Elysian Realm and the whole story about the Flame Chasers had any meaning since they never existed in the first place? I always said that stories are at least for Honkai Impact 3 are not really about the consequences. It's not really about dying and leaving. It's more about growing up, about learning, about developing as a person. And in that regard, I think that you have things to learn from both the cast of the Elysian Realm and even the cast of the Martian quantum computer. The best example for me is Sonche. I really enjoyed her story, and I basically cried while playing chapter 3 at some point. So even if her character was basically a simulation, it affected me as a player and as a viewer, because I had some things in my personal life that I could relate to her. So that's what matters for me the most. So in that sense, I think this is an answer that you have to seek it out yourself. And how do you like the writing style? It reminds me of early Honkai Impact 3, except a lot more thorough, with it being focused on the character's mental state and emotions. And I agree with you. I do think that there are some pacing related things that I don't really like, but it's funny because I see a lot of people saying that Honkai Impact peaked with part 1 and that part 2 doesn't live up to the legacy and that it sucks, when honestly part 2 reminds me of that pre-chapter 25, pre-Elysian Realm era of Honkai Impact 3, that when people were praising the story like it's the second coming of Christ, more than the last few arcs of part 1 did. It's very character focused, it's about the growth of the characters, it's very thorough in exploring their psychology and see their past and what led them to their current mental state and how they overcome their difficulties and how they grow their relationships, which is something that I really liked in part 1, especially. Like I always said that 2 of my favorite arcs in part 1 are the Nagazora arc and the Flame Scion arc, and honestly the latest arc with Hylia and Coralie reminded me a lot of those moments. I think that part 2 does a better job at emulating the writing style and the feeling of part 1 than some of the part 1 chapters themselves. And when I say the feeling of part 1 is that nostalgic feeling that a lot of people like to evoke, thinking back at moments like Lament of the Fallen or True or the Flame Scion arc. So, like I said, there are some issues. I also don't think that part 2 is perfect. There are some pacing issues here and there, and the lore can get a little bit inconsistent, especially with things that they said at the beginning of part 2 and some things that they say now. But overall, I really enjoyed it. How do you know about the dragon lady who trains Coralie? I heard she's a descendant of permanence from Honkai Star Rail. I mean, Naralab never appears in Honkai Star Rail. The character itself is not from Honkai Star Rail, if that's what you're referring to. But the concept of permanence, and we see other descendants of permanence in Honkai Star Rail, so we can draw some parallels between them. And we can use the knowledge we learn about the permanence and their descendants from there to apply it to Naralab. But overall, you don't really know, like I said in the beginning, I think they did a really good job in not really needing to know about Honkai Star Rail to understand Naralab and what's happening with Coralie, even if you have no idea what a sign of permanence means. In other instances, they translate it as Dragonkin. So in the worst case scenario, you can draw the conclusion, oh, she's a dragon, whatever, you know. And the fact that Long and the entire lore that we have about Vidiadara and other descendants of permanence is not really relevant for the story now. Part 1 nostalgia overlord is real. I mean, it's to be expected. That's the case in most media. People will always be nostalgic for the past. I love part 2, but do you think we'll get another antagonist like someone who's around for a really long time and manipulating a lot of things? No, that's an interesting question, and that's something that I saw a lot of people bringing up, that we don't really have not that we don't have an antagonist, because we have antagonists in part 2, but we don't really have an overall antagonist that we are fighting, that it's also present in the story, because as far as we know, the main antagonist of part 2 right now is the real Layla. Not the simulated one that we fought in last chapter with Hylia and Coralie, but the one that appeared in chapter 4 and kicked us out from the system. But it's also true that she's not really, while she's the main antagonist of part 2 as of now, she didn't really had any major appearances in the story. She just appeared once in chapter 4 and kicked us out, and that's it. Meanwhile, I can see that Ara was there all the time, so you always wondered what he's up to. I started with part 2, so I have no nostalgia. I personally prefer the storytelling of part 2 more. Yeah, I saw that take with a lot of new players who started with part 2, and honestly, yeah, the storytelling, it's an upgrade. Part 1 was basically a visual novel, so in that regard, the storytelling, the way they present things in part 2 is mild better than part 1. That's not even a contest. The only thing that part 1 has over part 2 in regards to the way they present the story are the animated shorts. But when it comes to story presentation, in-game models, camera angles, cutscenes, in-game cutscenes, part 2 is miles above. And it makes sense. Because they grew a lot in these years. When part 1 started, they were a dozen people who were working on this game. It was their first 3D game. They barely had any experience, so of course that it's very wonky and outdated. We learned that original Sinadina came from another world, so where did the Dreamseeker Sinadina come from? Dreamseeker Senadina, you mean the Senadina we met in the first chapters? We do not know. We do not know, but that happens in the simulation, so chances are that she's not really... She is, but she's not really a different Senadina. She might have been just a simulated entity by the computer. We have no clear answers, but she's not. There aren't two different Senadinas. That's the point I'm trying to make. At least I don't think so. I think she was more similar to like a bug in the system or something like that. I guess Vita is the first official Pathrider from Honkai Impact Earth. I mean, yeah, she's a Pathrider of Elation right now. Which is why many people thought that she will be playable in HSR at some point. I would really love if Naralab would become playable in Honkai Impact Earth. I mean, I also thought about it, but we kinda learn in chapter 9 that she's dead. So I don't know. Of course, we have Nana, who is a reincarnation, but she's still a child right now, a baby dragon. But we also see when Coralie gets the permanence powers that she grows up, so maybe they can do some crazy thing where we'll get Nana playable at some point after she gets more powers and grows up, but maybe with a different design from Naralab. I mean, she will look the same, but the clothing and maybe the hairstyle will change a bit to showcase a difference between the two. So I don't think that we will get the OG Naralab as playable, but I do think there are some chances to get a form of Naralab in Nana playable at some point. Isn't Nana just Coralie now, since Nana absorbed her consciousness? I mean, that was the case before she got the power and was revived, basically, because if you remember at the end of chapter 9, when Chen She came and basically threw Coralie off the bridge, they reconnected her consciousness to her real body, so she's not connected to Nana anymore. What's the deal with Ajita? I don't know. There's also Ajita, who honestly is the most sus character right now, because we have no idea what she plans, and I doubt that her character will not have a bigger role in the story, because that would be a waste. I also think that she's planning something, or she might not be what she is showing to us to be. She might be a lot more than that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I would really love a playable Ajita. But honestly, given her design, she really screams Astral OP to me. And I can see Hoyoverse, I can totally see Hoyoverse do it and make her an Astral operator. And I know that a lot of people will be disappointed when that happens. How do you feel about the increasing number of cute mascot characters? Nana, Little Snake, Doniga, etc. I mean, I don't really mind them, as long as they are not overly annoying like Paimon is in Genshin. I think they're fine. I mean, Rice Cake and Kiana was very random, but whatever. But Doniga and Nana, they don't really feel forced into the story. They have a reason to be there. So sad Chenshe is just an Astral OP. Yeah, me too. But hey, who knows? If you learn something, is that astral OPs can also become playable, like we saw with Songche. So who knows? I don't think she will, but copium. I will take a short bathroom break. Give me a second. We'll take a short bathroom break and be back in a minute.
Song on my skin, I count like shooting star, you can never resist. Pick my man, they're just my business. You might clear this and the ceiling could be a limit. I'm coming to show you where upside down. Suddenly we can't stay but toes. Play yo-yo to keep me turning, spin me up. Yeah, wait, don't stop. Got a better fate, better all mine. Made my own path, never rewind, yeah. Shouldn't speed it up, waste my whole life, yeah. So keep your eyes on me. We can ride it to this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Keep your eyes on me. Oh, we can ride it to this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down. Song on my skin, I count like shooting star, you can never resist. Pick my man, they're just my business. You might clear this and the ceiling could be a limit. I'm coming to show you where upside down. Suddenly we can't stay but toes. Play yo-yo to keep me turning, spin me up. Yeah, wait, don't stop. Got a better fate, better all mine. Made my own path, never rewind, yeah. Shouldn't speed it up, waste my whole life, yeah. So keep your eyes on me. We can ride it to this beat. Just come and follow me. I won't let you down.
I am back. Dude, it's already been an hour. Time flies really fast. Okay, so you guys can keep asking any questions. In the meantime, don't mind me. I want to do my Abyss and Elysian Realm. Physical fire. because it's Sunday. Hey, I'm new practically. I played years ago. I just started because I like Hylia. Question: that astral thing doesn't really seem to work as a new player since it's take me 300 for an alt when I clicked. Am I doing something wrong? 300? Do you mean astral energy? Because each type of astral ring has a different if type of astral ring has a different amount needed to activate it. I'm not really a meta expert on this game, but if you can be with Hylia, I mean, the entire gist of her astral ring is that the entire team shares the SP, so she has pretty fast SP recovery, so that's usually not an issue for me. I heard that Rice Cake is canon. I mean, yeah, that was confirmed during the event. Rice Cake is canon. Okay, give me a moment to concentrate here. Let's see. Just one moment. This should be a pretty easy boss. You see, the SP recovery is really not an issue for her. It's pretty fast. But I think I messed up my rotation here. I should have altered with Kiana, so give me another moment. Homo locked in. No in-game music. Would you guys prefer the in-game music? I left the lo-fi because I thought would be better. Though that Kiana ult, you can really feel it in the damage. Yeah, I messed up the rotation big time here, but whatever. Very tactile keyboard. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's bother you. You know what? Let me stop the music, the lo-fi music, and give me a moment and have the Oh, much better. I had to lock in there for a moment. Come on. Whatever, it wasn't the best run. Let's see. Second, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, you guys. I mean, it's EU. It's a lot. It's a lot more relaxed than other servers. Yeah, 777. Lucky number. Do you think Litost will be a recurring character in the story, given we're probably going even further back since none of the other shows that previously have stuck? I mean, depending where we're going, I can see that. If we're going even further back in time, yes, sure, because we know that he has been around for a long time. Also Seraphim from the shows, and even Ajita. So I can definitely see that. I think that Honkai Impact 3 could be more popular than it is now, but they need to do some changes, like letting people just start from part 2 if they want. I half agree with that, because in theory, yeah, it's a good idea, but the thing is that you start part 2, but part 2 is pretty reliant on part 1 lore. It's not outrageously reliant in the sense that you can understand part 2 even without part 1 to some extent, especially the first 3 chapters. But after 3 acts, when they introduce the part 1 characters and the whole simulation thingy, it's a bit more complicated. And they also, I would recommend reworking a little bit the first chapter, at least the first chapter of part 2, to reduce a little bit of exposition and make it a little bit more new player friendly. But yeah, they need to do a lot of changes if they want this game to be more popular, but honestly, in the way they treat the game since part 2 came out, I honestly don't really think they want this game to be more popular. I think they are content with the current player base, and they try to cater to them. But at least on the global side, I haven't seen them do too much to promote it to new players. And also, I think that part 1 is very good and very important. So I would like for new players to be able to experience it and not just skip over it. But hey, maybe I can also understand that some people don't really like that style of storytelling and presentation, because it's old, it's not for everyone. So I never faulted anybody for saying that they don't want to get into Honkai Impact 3 because they don't like the visual novel storytelling. And also keep in mind that another big barrier is the fact that we don't have an English dub, and a lot of people are very reliant on English dub on the general audience's side, because a more dedicated, dedicated audience like Honkai Impact 3 has, that's into the otaku culture and likes to watch anime, doesn't really mind. I also personally don't mind the Japanese dub. It's true that sometimes it's a little bit harder to understand things because you have to read. That's why if a game has English dub available, I will always choose it. Just because I am a person that is very focused on the lore and the story, and the English dub helps me understand things better. But yeah. Part 2 launch was kind of focused on the new players, though it wasn't excessively on point, was it? Because I thought that it will be, but when I saw the launch, to me it was more focused on the older player. I mean, honestly, it felt to me like they were trying to focus on both attracting new players and keeping the old player base, and they failed in both. It's like they tried to catch two rabbits at the same time, but they didn't catch any. and after that they saw that they didn't manage to attract many new players, so they start focusing more on the existing player base, which honestly it's the smart thing to do. But a part of me, especially at the beginning of part 2, felt like Hoyo didn't understand what made Honkai Impact Earth special, because they kind of tried to emulate Genshin and Honkai Star Rail by having daily missions and that separate artifact system that they removed. And look, I've been playing this game for years, and I know that the developers are very, very passionate about it. So I don't want to believe that they fail to realize why people love Honkai Impact Third. And it's not because it's like Genshin or it's like HSR, because Honkai Impact Third had many unique things that made it beloved by its player base. I'm wondering, and again, take it with a grain of salt, I have no official confirmation, this is just me wondering, if Hoyoverse themselves, the higher-ups, the executives in Hoyoverse, asks for the Honkai Impact Earth developers to have all these things implemented in part 2, because they thought that maybe that would attract players from their other games. Because it's the only explanation that I can give, that the higher ups pushed for that. I kinda want the servers to be unsynced though, because I feel like the story gets spoiled too much, especially in the global community. I mean, there are advantages and negative things. Like we have a lot more times to prepare our gems because we can see the schedule in advance. But yeah, I also can see the point that people have regarding story spoilers. For me, it's not that big of an issue because I usually keep up with CN either way. And it's not that big of a gap. If you follow me on Twitter, many people know that I recently started playing Uma Musume, and there's a 4-year gap between Global and JP, and it's so jarring seeing some recent Umas that came out in JP, and like I really want them, and having to wait 2 or 3 years for them is very frustrating. So being just 1 month behind isn't that bad. It's pretty easy to avoid spoilers. I muted Marissa's channel a while ago and hasn't spoiled a single thing since. I mean, it depends on what social media you frequent, because in my opinion, Twitter and YouTube are the worst when it comes to spoilers, because even if you mute an account, you might. So many people, at least on Twitter, do not tag spoilers, so you might get a surprise spoiler, even if you mute certain words. And on YouTube, it's mostly thumbnails that spoil. And I never liked these things. I know there are a couple of content creators that do these things. I try to avoid, even if I have a video that talks about stuff that it's only released in CN, I never put spoilers in my titles and thumbnails that that are from CN, the CN side, because it's a little bit scammy to do that, because inevitably someone who doesn't want to get spoiled will see that. They have so many dead weeks, they could use that to catch up and synchronize with CN. Honestly, they could, but I don't really know why they don't do it. I think they already have a working flow with the 1 month gap in mind, and they don't want to ruin that. I have no idea. But I also think that not only that, but also in hype for the game, because if you see, the community is kind of divided in two parts. The people who keep up with CN and the people who don't keep up with CN. And every time they release a new trailer, for example, on the global channel, half of the player base already saw the trailer on the CN side, and other people are re-uploading the trailer on YouTube a month prior. So you don't get that hype and that many views when the official global channel launches something. Yeah, even Kuro synchronized PGR CN with global, and I know that they also had a little bit of controversy, especially from paying players. I returned to PGR, I'm still playing the game, and I was able to get pretty much every character. I didn't get the weapon for everybody, but for the most part I'm very content with how Kuro handled the synchronization. And if I'm not mistaken, we are almost caught up. We are just 2 patches behind right now. With PGR. But yeah, I do not know why they don't do it with Honkai Impact 3rd. Alright, let's do ER. After the DMC collab, PGR Global is in sync with the CN, I guess. I think they will still be 1 patch behind, because I know that CN is on the new Bianca frame right now, but I assume when the PGR patch ends in global, the CN will be already on the next patch. So I don't know what the plan is for them right now. うん Don't mind me just choosing my signets. Yeah, I usually follow a guide for this. I generally have no idea what any of these signets do. I usually have a guide and follow that. For example, Astral Ring Hylia is very brain dead. You activate Astral Ring, press weapon skill, and you just spam basic attacks. You don't do anything else, you just spam basic attacks. Remember when ER just came out and it was so hard? Now you can basically clear with anyone. Yeah, those were the days. I remember the struggle. Weapon skill and basic. But people were also complaining a lot during the initial ER days, and to be honest, some of the bosses were ridiculous. Like I still remember that Benares boss in the beginning. It was so frustrating. Yeah, and the Mobius threat. In a way, I kinda miss those days, but in another way, not really. Kuro actually announced on their 5.5 livestream that the Veronica boss and a new Leaf frame will be released soon. Really? I haven't kept up, so... But I saw people discussing about the new Leaf frame. So that should be exciting. Was the original Vita Sa a Hersher? Everything exploded on Venus and she became soul immortal. She was more than a Hersher, much more than a Hersher. She was basically a semi-god. Sa was basically imitating the cocoon of finality. So while Sa was never on the same power level as the cocoon of finality, it was definitely more than a Hersher. It was a being that was trying to imitate the cocoon of finality. And that's pretty clearly explained, especially in the first arc of part 1.5, because Sele is basically a Hersher that was born through Sa, in the same way as the Hershers on Earth, like Senti, Kiana, and the rest are born through the cocoon of finality. I mean, before she became Sa, she became a singularity on Venus to begin with. It's a little bit mysterious because we don't really know what she was before that. We know that she got some powers from the Sea of Quanta, but that's the extent of it. It wasn't really explained what she was then. Does anyone know how Su became a corporeal form? I mean, the second key manga explains it. If you haven't read it, you can try. It's basically he transferred his knowledge and powers to the Randall and synced to the bottom of the Sea of Quanta, and his physical body died. But his consciousness ascended to a greater plane where he met an entity that presumably is even beyond the Honkai itself. Many theorize that it might be an Eon, who knows. I hope that in 8.5 we get a new Cele battlesuit, because in 8.5, in 8.4C and livestream we see an adult version of Cele. I mean, unfortunately I saw some of the leaks about the 8.5 battlesuit, and if they are true, who knows? Oh boy, we're in for a ride. But guys, please don't spoil if anybody about 8.5. But there's no way we won't get a new Cele at some point. I'm pretty sure that it's just a matter of time. Also, thank you, Wes, for becoming a member. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. You rock, bro. Thank you. You too, bro. This is pure skill, guys. I'm not just mindlessly pressing my mouse. Speaking of Hershers-like powers, Hersher of Thunder core in chapter 17 got stolen, similarly to Revenge Spirit power got stolen. Would the variable armament be a Hersher-like authority? What do you mean by the Hersher of Thunder core in chapter 17 got stolen? You mean when May used the Honkai energy to get the core back from Kiana? Because May didn't really steal the Hersher core from Kiana. May was the owner of the Hersher core, in a sense. So she practically got the Hersher core back from Kiana. Do you think that Teresa will pay taxes to the APC if they try to invade Earth? Now that's an interesting theory. Honestly, no, I don't think so. And with an entity like Yana, I don't know if it is wise for the IPC to try to invade Earth. I'm farming the medals, and I'm at Cosma right now, who is arguably the most annoying ER boss in the game. Fuck. No. I'm gonna die. I hate Cosma. Give me a minute to lock in here. Yeah, every boss is easier than Cosma, but I'm trying to farm the, you know, the emblems. You get an emblem at when you beat a boss 12 times, and another emblem when you beat a boss 24 times. And I'm farming the Cosma emblem. It's the last boss I have to farm the emblem for, and I already have the 12 clears emblem. So I want to be done with him, so that's why I'm doing Cosma. We're not supposed to talk about 8.5 spoilers, right? Right. Please do not mention anything related to 8.5. Did we actually even get the true Elysia backstory? All we know is that she came to Earth in a crystal flower, right? We got her backstory as a basically quote-unquote human on Earth. We know her entire life. We didn't really get a in-depth explanation of how she was born. Or we know that her powers are an anomaly. He originated basically as a bug in the system. But other than that, not really. We only have some conjecture from Dr. May's hypothesis and what happened in the final arc of Part 1, which gave us some answers, but not the full picture. But yeah, the idea is that she was Jesus, and you know that Honkai always like to work on this fact that we basically know what the characters know. So the fact that we never really got the characters never really got a proper explanation of what Elysia is. It was mostly Dr. May's conjecture. That's the explanation that we were given as players as well. But that is not to say that we won't get an explanation in the future, because they kinda hinted that maybe she is related to Mars in a way. We have an entire continent on Mars, Elysium, that may have some tie with Elysia, and also we have Senadina and the similarities in their eyes and other stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe we will get some answers. Yeah, I'm more interested in Kalpas's origins, to be honest, rather than Elysia's. Like, how did that man get here? Like, where is she from? Is she from a planet in our solar system? Is she from a planet from outside of our solar system? What's the deal with him? Yeah, yes, Yubato, I know, you're right. Elysium is a real continent on Mars, but they can draw some connections there if they truly want to. Everything looks alright. Is there an analog entity to the Wheel of Honkai in Part 2 yet? In a way, if you want to go through the concept of the wheel, we have the Wheel of Shadows Perception, which is similar in the sense that it's basically a incorporeal manifestation of a concept of the Shadow Calamity on Langcha, in a similar way how the Wheel of Honkai was initially portrayed. And it's basically the gestalt of the Honkai, and perception is the gestalt of the shadow calamity. So in a way, yeah. I mean, we know that these entities called wheels are very common through the Honkai series. GGZ has a lot of wheels enemies, and we even see them in a way even in HSR. Basically, the eons themselves are, in a way, if you want to draw the parallel, the wheel of a path. Do you make anything of Cyrene also having elf ears in HSR's trailer? She only got those in Honkai Impact Earth because of being a mantis, which I assume isn't a thing in HSR. You're right, isn't a thing in HSR, but we saw many characters in Amphoreus with elf ears, so I'm assuming they are just a species. They're like Tribi, or like Castoris, I'm sorry. Like Castoris, so maybe there are more. Yeah, and keep in mind that Amphoreus is also simulation, so who knows where that data comes from. Yeah, but someone pointed out on yesterday's stream when we watched the HSR 3.5 the developer live stream, how would Welt react if he was to go on Amphoreus and seeing Finan. And I mean, Welt didn't really interacted with Elysia, but I'm assuming that he knows about Elysia because May can't fucking shut up about the Flame Chasers. So I assume that he at least knows about them and Elysia. But it would be interesting if Welt were to go on Amphoreus. Anyway, guys, I'm kinda done with Honkai Impact 3rd. I did my abyss. I did my Elysian Realm. I'm kind of feeling alright, so we can continue the discussion, but would you mind if I switch over to another game? Give me a minute. I'm still here. I just want to switch to another game. And we can continue the discussion.
Uma Musume, Vidiadara.
And the game is Uma Musume. I cannot tell you guys how obsessed I am with this game and how much I played it in the past month. Let me know if the audio is okay, if I need to tone it down a little. How dare you, you're not allowed to switch to anything other than Honkai Impact Third or HSR. Yeah, I'm sure I can watch my viewer count drop, but I think tone the music down a little bit loud. Okay, give me a second. Let me know if it's better right now. Do you will in this game as well? Go on, tell us. I already topped up once for to get the guaranteed ticket for a character, but that was the only time. Good now. If you want to see my account, I mostly pulled on the Kita-san banner and I kept my gems. So I don't have many trainees. The only 3 stars that I have, base 3 stars, I Rice Shower, Oguri. I got 2 copies of Oguri and Rudolph. I also got 2 copies of Rudolph, and with the shards that I got from the legend races, I was able to upgrade my Rudolph to 4 stars. I also managed to upgrade my El Condor Pasa to 3 stars and my King Halo to 3 stars, but I don't really have many trainees, as you can see, because I've been mostly pulling for support cards with all the hype for Kita-san banner. But right now I've got my Kita-san. She is as you can see, she's almost max limit break, not quite, but it's usable. So I will be pulling a lot more for Umas from now on. And I got a decent collection of SRs to use. Honkai Impact 3rd, Uma Musume when. I saw a fan art yesterday, I think. Someone made an Uma version of Kiana and it looked pretty good. You would be better off going to stadiums and bet on actual horses, lol. I mean, I don't even know if there are race horses in my countries. I mean, there must be, but I'm not really familiar with that. Homo, I think you should make a fresh Kokuno Finality video for the Honkai Star Rail people too. The big misconception of it being terminus and all. Honestly, you're right. And I kind of feel like I'm one of the perpetrators of that misconception, because I propose it as a theory in my video, which, to be fair towards me, at that time we didn't really know much about finality and the cocoon and the terminus itself. So at that time it looked like a plausible theory, but after that we got to know that they are different entities. So I'll definitely consider doing that in the future.
少々垣根が高いので。
Yeah, I mean, I have this idea. Many people think that my videos are influencing a lot of people, and if I make videos about certain stuffs, the entire misconceptions related to that stuff will go away, or the opposite. If I made a mistake in my entire video, I saw some people thinking that I ruin everything. Like many people, I was kinda cancelled, but not really, on Twitter a few weeks back because I made a joke about Walt and Tesla being married in my Walt video, and many people took offense on that and accused me of ruining Walt's image in the Star Rails community. Let me tell you something, guys. I'm not that big. While sure, some of my videos get pretty decent views, I can't influence the perception of an entire community. I can make dozens of videos, it won't stop the misconception. I'm not big enough to influence anything in this community. So, which horse should we do a career with, guys? Choose one for me. I have basically all the 1 and 2 stars with the exception of Super Creek, and 3 stars only Rudolph, Augury, and Rice Shower. Isn't that something everyone agreed that they are married? Not really. There are some hints in Adam's dialogue, but it's not confirmed that they are married. It's only confirmed that they shared custody. Also, Emperor Caligula, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian dollars. Thank you very much. Do you think that the Cocoon of Finality blocks the influence of the Eons? I mean, that's a popular theory right now. That the reason why the solar system in Honkai Impactors is isolated, besides just the regular imaginary energy barrier, is because of the cocoon's influence. I don't think it can completely block the influence of all the Eons. For example, we saw that some of the memo keepers from the Garden Recollection, and even some of Masked Fools like Vita and Sampo were managed to break through. But I do think that the cocoon might play a big role in why the Honkai Impactor solar system is hidden from the rest of the solar system. Homo Labs, did May become the sole leader of Moth after Elysia died? Chapter 31 EX seems to allude to this, or to another chapter, but there is a civil war where even Sakura was ordered to off May. Elysia was never the leader of Moth. Elysia was the leader of the 13 Flame Chasers, which was a separate organization within Moth that was never really official, by the way, because the higher-ups in Moth didn't want to allow the Flame Chasers to exist because they thought that they weren't heroic enough. And to their credit, I can see their point, you know. But the Flame Chasers were never really an official organization, but they established themselves anyway, and Elysia was quote-unquote their leader at the beginning, and then she transferred that leadership to Kevin. But she didn't really have much power in Moth, unlike Dr. May, which was part of the Moth, and she wasn't really the head anyway. We know that there were other people, but they never really went into details onto the leadership of the Moth. We know that it was just a secretive organization, it had some higher-ups, and that's it. Hello, Scarlet Witch. No, I mean, after Elysia was sacrificed, did May gain the motivation to be the sole leader? I mean, after Elysia died, and right before the Hersher of Finality Descendant, there wasn't really a lot of people left alive, so it was only Dr. May who could take the reins of leadership at that point, because there was literally no one better than her at that point. Anyway, guys, any suggestions? Who should I train first? Who's your favorite Uma? Do you think that Hoyo will ever capture the magic of Elysia again? I think the closest they got in Honkai Impact Third was Vita, but she's not nearly as popular as Elysia. If you ask in terms of popularity, no, I don't think we'll ever get a character that popular. Because Elysia... Rudolph, Harurara... everybody different Uma. The thing with Elysia is that she came at the right... She was at the right place at the right time, because she came right at in the boom of the popularity boom that Honkai Impact Third got from Genshin. At that time there weren't many high-profile gacha games on the market. Hoyo only got Genshin and Honkai Impact Third globally, and Tears of Themis, of course, but that was never really that popular. There was no WUVA, no other popular gacha game. So a lot of people flocked from Genshin to Honkai Impact Third. And Elysia had a really nice design. She really had a very pleasant personality that attracted a lot of people to her. So she had everything she needed to have in order for her to succeed. But right now, even if the Honkai Impact Third would came out with a character similar to Elysia, I don't think that she will get that popular, simply because Honkai Impact Third is not that popular anymore, and there are so many more gacha games that are on the market that people focus on that. Unfortunately, not many people care about Honkai Impact Third nowadays and the new characters. Vita is the perfect example of a character that is very beloved inside the community, and even outside a little bit because of her connection to Sparkle, but she didn't really take off, and I don't really think we can get any better than Vita at this point. Maya no Super Creep, Gas Wonder Oguri. Homulaps, what do you think the permanence being over 1 billion years old? This is also a very interesting thing, because we know that there are some time shenanigans involving the solar system of Honkai Impact Third. So, because of the cocoon. So, because the cocoon was hidden, the solar system was hidden, there is a chance that maybe the time inside the solar system of Honkai Impact Third and the time outside in the rest of the universe were not synchronized. A good example for this is Amphorius itself, where we know that Danheng and the Trailblazer were in Amphorius for more than 1 year, but outside only a few days have passed. So this is just my theory, take it with a grain of salt, but I don't think that we can take the Honkai Impact Third timeline and apply it to the greater Honkai universe. Because there is a chance that time inside and outside the solar system are not synchronized. Should we do a Mayano Top Gun? Because I saw some people saying Mayano. Let's go with her. Let me change my legacy. But if that happens, well, it would be off sync with the solar system. Kinda, yes. Unless maybe, who knows, maybe something happens in APHO or at the end of APHO, or maybe that barrier isn't there anymore. But yeah, in a way, maybe. Because there are some strange things, even regarding Weld, because at some point he says that he asked Madame Herta to contact his family on Earth to let them know that he's okay, which is a bit weird because that would imply that Herta knows where Earth is, and wouldn't that make it easier for him to get home if he wanted to? And if Herta can't contact Earth, that means that maybe Earth is not protected by the cocoon anymore, or the barrier is not in place anymore. I'm sure they'll try to connect both HSR and Honkai Impact Earth for one. And I mean, from the looks of it, yeah, you might be right, because we got a lot of HSR lore in Honkai Impact Earth recently. And we also get a lot of Honkai Impact Earth lore and parallels in HSR. So I can definitely see them trying to connect the game more directly. And when I say more directly, I'm not referring necessarily to the storylines, in the sense that the story in HSR will always be standalone. Same with Honkai Impact Earth. I'm talking more about the concepts, the greater cosmology, not necessarily the story. Do you think that APHO will be part 2 or part 3? In my opinion, we'll end part 2 with the cocoon barrier getting demolished, and APHO will be after. I mean, I can see APHO be integrated into the main story and not be a separated thing like it was in APHO 1 and APHO 2. But we'll have to wait and see. I think the localized time zone will start to change, similar to how other paths in HSR are starting to take notice of our solar system. It's because Quanta decided for it to be like this. Again, we do not know for sure. That's why I said that I would love to have a moment where Quanta wakes up and we get some answers as to what's happening. But I do think that the story of Mars and Part 2 in general will lead to some crazy revelations and implications for the Honkai Impact Earth solar system. I copy. How did I lose that 8%? Whatever. Does HSR have anything new in the story that affects the cosmology of the Honkai verse? I mean, I would say that the biggest revelation that recently happened in HSR would be the reveal of the Lord Ravagers, who are the emanators of destruction, and their motives and the paths that they are after. That's why I said that I could totally see Sun Devourer coming after Nara Lab or Nana in Honkai Impact Earth at some point. That would be a way to connect it. Speed, go!
ここは負けられない一番人気。
Who is your favorite HSR character, Homo? That's a good question. Honestly, I don't really have a good answer. Right now, I think my favorites are Herta, Castoris, Finan. After 3.4, Finan really skyrocketed in my rankings. And I also got a lot of recency bias because if you noticed, a lot of my favorite characters are from Amphorius. And of course it's also because Amphorius, I think it's my favorite world right now with my favorite characters, but I also think that it's a little bit of recency bias there. Does the horse game have 50-50? Trust me, when it comes to gacha, Uma Musume, it's way worse than any Hoyo game that you have played. While the devs are pretty generous and they give up a lot of freebies, the gacha is atrocious. It doesn't really have a PT, but it has an exchange shop. If you pull 200 times, you get to buy basically the rate up character or support card. But for example, for Kita-san Black, I went almost 400 pulls and only got 3 Kita-san Blacks. Which, to be fair, it's pretty at odds with Hoyo games. But I think I got lucky because I know people who went to 600 pulls and didn't even get a copy of Kita-san. But this is a Japanese gacha, which are notoriously a lot more predatory than Chinese gacha games. Do we risk this 17%? Fuck it, let's go. Yeah, it's similar to FGO. Hey Homo, any recommendation on how to read up on HSR lore? I'm extremely intrigued, but sadly I do not have the time nor memory space to play or even watch let's plays of the game. HSR is a little bit tricky because it's a little bit all over the place. In Honkai Impact 3rd you have the Hoyo stance guide. They also have one for HSR, but I do not know how thorough it is. You can check that out. But in a sense, it's a lot more all over the place than Honkai Impact 3rd. There's a lot of factions, there's a lot of things that are involved. So my recommendation would unfortunately be to watch a playthrough of the game to get a general idea of it, and from there go on to read about the stuff that interests you the most. At least that's how I tackle personally the HSR lore. Yeah, like Miss Celesta says, you can try visiting the HSR lore subreddit, or even the HSR Discord has a pretty thorough lore community, and I know that they have some materials regarding lore and how to tackle the lore, even for beginners. So you can try there. Sorry if you were already asked this, but what are your thoughts about Cyrene's design from the new trailer? I mean, I said it yesterday when I saw it. It looks very similar to Elysia, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what they wanted, and some people like that, some people do not like that. For me, I would have loved to see the design be a little bit different, because she's basically just torture of human ego at this point. But yeah, I would have loved to see a little more diversity in her design, but I'm inclined to think that the design being so similar to Torture of Human Ego is intentional, and that's what the developers wanted. So, no, it's okay. Not the biggest fan, but it doesn't really bother me too much either. We have a race. I like the young model, she was very cute, a bit sad it gets thrown away. I mean, it was pretty obvious that they will give her another model for her playable version. My worry is that since time is fucked up, when Wealth returns to Earth, if the barrier isn't down, he could very well travel thousands of years into Honkai Impact Earth's future. I mean, that would be a great idea for a sequel game. Imagine Honkai Nexus Anima happens in a future version of Honkai Impact Earth's world after Wealth returns. Do we have any other G1s? Let's go for Satsuki Show. Who is the calamitous dragon from Permanence? Okay, so we know that there are two dragons, right? Mentioned in chapter 9 of Honkai Impact Earth. One is Naralab, who is the star-traveling dragon, and the other one is the Calamity Dragon, quote-unquote, who granted Senadina's planets immortality. So it's not Naralab who granted them immortality, it was the first dragon, who is also a sign of permanence, who came there first. And Naralab she was the second scion of permanence who came there. By the time Naralab arrived, Senadina's planet already had immortality. We don't really know about the first dragon too much, just that through one of its scales, Senadina's planet got its immortality, and that it's also a sign of permanence. That's it. Is Coralia permanence pet Strider now, or is she just a scion? Like, her DNA can change to a scion or not? We have no really confirmation, because the concept of pets is not really established in Honkai Impact Earth, in the sense that people are not really aware of them. She's not necessarily a pet Strider, but she uses the power of permanence. In the same fact that a Scion of Permanence is not necessarily a pet Strider of Permanence, but it can still use the power of permanence. if that makes sense. But you can also think of her as a pet strider if you want. I don't think that there's something wrong with that line of thinking.
ちゃんと見ててね。なんだか元気が急降下しちゃってる。あれれ。
Let's rest.
まだ頑張っちゃうよ。目を離さないでしっかり見てて。張り切っていこう。
Their appearance is also exclusive to the Mars quantum computer, basically an avatar. Not really, because we see, we even talked about that earlier in the stream, we see them on the bridge using their powers outside of the quantum computer. Both Hylia and Coralie can use their powers outside. So surprisingly, it's not exclusive to the quantum computer.
燃料。さあ、価値ある時間をあげるわ。
Let's see, do we get something good?
入ってきたかも。
Deep breaths. Whatever.
なん
First, let me see what.
なんだか。
Yeah, let's go race. Satsuki Show.
注目の1番人気2番マヤのトップが
実力は完全に上位ですね。
ランディングキース。あやちの大勝利。 トレーナーちゃんとな。
I'm a bit curious, Homu. The plot of part 2 revolves around Layla, but seemingly Layla is just always in Lune, so how will exploring other continents work? Same with the shoes, they're also in Lune. I mean, the simulated Layla was in Ruimu, but we know that the real villain of part 2 is the real Layla, who is in the real world outside of the quantum computer. So we still have to
なんだかうまく体が動かない。
sort things through with the real Layla. And I guess just like she appeared in Osha when she kicked us out, she can appear everywhere on Mars if she wants to.
すぐ終わらせちゃうよ。
But yeah, to me the plot of part 2 was always about finding the truth about what happened to the Martian civilization, because
急降下しちゃってる。
I even mentioned this in one of my videos. The part 2 plot has a lot of parallels with a book that Marty referenced on Twitter called Dictionary of Khazars, which is all about deciphering what happened to a lost civilization by going back in time, and the entire plot of the book is told in an unlinear manner, very similar to what's happening on Mars. So you're not wrong in saying that one of the major plot points of part 2 is finding out what exactly happened to Mars. Because there are still many questions left unanswered. How is the cocoon involved with all of this? How was Mars completely destroyed? How did the quantum computer get to be? What was its primary purpose? There are a lot of questions that we still have no answers for. Yeah, the Dream Seeker as well.
そんな。どうもどうも。よろしくです。
Let's You can never have enough stamina in this game. I didn't realize that it's summer camp. Should have conserved my stamina for this, but whatever. Kikasho in 6 turns.
メニューもへっちゃらだよ。マヤ何でも分かっちゃうから。
I think that Honkai Impactor should add companion quests to make up for longer patches. Well, they kinda tried to with Telema's quest in the beginning. That was a pseudo-companion quest in a way. But they stopped making them. And to be honest, I don't really know if they have even with the longer patches, I don't really know if the Honkai Impactor devs have enough manpower to work on that as well.
どうもどうも。よろしくです。
Do you like Entropy Homo? I mean, yes, I like the characters. I appreciate that she's her own character and she has a major role in the story.
準備オーライ。いつでもテイクオフいけるよ。今なら本当に飛べちゃうかも。
Homo Labs, was the Wheel of Shadows born from Layla or a separate thing? Did it manifest after Layla Rampage, like the boss fight Hylia and Coralie fought in Chapter 9? Okay, here's the thing about the Wheel of Shadow. The Shadow Calamity in itself appeared after Layla went on a rampage. But at that time, the Calamity didn't have a wheel, it just existed, right? And the wheel itself manifested after Baiji tried to seal the Shadow Calamity in the Zodiac Astral Ring and failed. So basically Baiji created the Wheel of Shadows per se. But the Shadow Calamity existed ever since Layla went on the rampage.
離陸準備オン。すぐ終わらせちゃうよ。 準備オッケー。マヤチンいつでもテイクオフ。
Yeah, the Honkai, we know it was confirmed that Honkai Impactor lost over 100 devs in 2024, and right now, if I remember correctly, they have around 400 devs or 300. I can't remember exactly. I think it's around 400 devs. Or yeah, I think they at the beginning of part 2 they have around 500 devs, and they reduced it by 100. And keep in mind, this is last year. And we are already at way past the half point of 2025, so maybe they lost even more this year, who knows?
さあ、価値ある時間をあげるわ。トレーナーちゃん、見ててね。マヤ、今までで一番。
Okay, let's buy some skills. Professor of Curvature. Let's go in with this.
今のマヤなら。
注目の一番人気1番。
次は一番になるよ。
Is the Great Eruption and the Shadow Calamity the same thing? Back in Chapter 1, Chensha said that the Great Eruption was caused by the Honkai energy. Do you think it's a retcon? It's not really the same thing, because we know that the Shadow Calamity existed before the Great Eruption. The Great Eruption was basically when places on Mars were falling into the sea of data. And that's when they got the anchors and stabilized. That's when Langchu and Osha also separated, and the Shu's separated the two of them to use Langchu as an anchor for Osha to stand between the corruption of the Sea of Data and so on, and use the pool of shadows that Litost sacrificed his life for to pin the 7 nails and make sure that the corruption of the Sea of Data is contained. There are multiple greater options. There are different events with the same name. The Martian greater option has nothing to do with the Earth greater option. Hope I have enough stamina for Ari Makinen, because I didn't really bought any stamina recovering skills. But usually the first Ari Makinen in the classing years doesn't require that much stamina. Guess who has to reopen Honkai Impact? I forgot to do Memorial Arena. Hey man, at least you remembered. Who is your favorite Honkai lead writer, Homo? Don't open this kind of worm. I don't really have a favorite. Of course, we don't really know all of them. I'm more familiar with Feng Chuan, with Koma, and with Shaoji, but each has aspects that I like and aspects that I don't like about their writings. For example, I really like Shaoji when it comes to character writing. He really is really good at making people feel emotional for the characters, but at the same time he has the tendency to stretch his dialogue and go over some long rambles. At the same time, I really like Fen Xuan's composition of the story. He really has some mind-boggling plot twists, but also the way he goes too in on the science aspects, and sometimes that can ruin his story, because he always tries to explain the scientific part of the story, and in a way I like that the guy thinks stuff through, but sometimes as a writer it's okay if you don't explain every mechanic directly through your characters. It's okay that you know these things, but you don't have to spell them out. And Koma is the writer of APHO and also the writer in charge for the Hylian arc. And I honestly, I'm not really a big fan of APHO from a story writing perspective. It's very, very simple, very toned down compared to the main story, but maybe that's also because it was its own contained game mode. But he did a phenomenal job with the Hylia arc. I have no complaints here. And of course, there are a lot more writers for the Honkai series, but these three are the ones that I am a little bit more familiar with. In In your opinion, do you think Shaoji shouldn't return to writing Honkai Impactor story? That's the thing, we have no idea if Shaoji writes or not the Honkai Impactor story right now, or how involved he is in the Honkai Star Rail story at the same time. Right after the Herrscher of Domination story arc, Shaoji was promoted as the head of the Honkai IP team. And IP means writing, basically. He's the head of the writing team for the entire Honkai series, not just Honkai Impactor and HSR. And after that, the last thing we know for sure that he wrote was ER. And after that, he kinda disappeared. And he only appeared in HSR live streams when there were new versions, and in some anniversary Honkai Impactor anniversary live streams on the CN side. But when he was writing for Honkai Impactor, he was always talking about that on the stream because he was appearing, right? And we know that he was involved. But ever since he was promoted, we don't really know about what he's writing. Because, for example, in his Honkai Star Rail streams, he never really says that he's a writer like he did in Honkai Impactor. He's there more so to generally present the story. So I always said that we have no idea what this guy is doing. He could be just overseeing the story for the both games and not writing directly for neither. Because now that he's the head, maybe he doesn't have time to write. And he's more likely just there to oversee the writing process and give, of course, help with the general plot of the story and give pointers to the writers. But we don't really know how involved he is in the writing process. But the thing is that he is the face of the writing team for kinda both Honkai Impactor and HSR. So every time that people don't like the writing and the story of either of the games, he's the scapegoat and people blame him. And in a way, he's the head of the writing team, right? So even if he doesn't write it directly, in a way, as head of the writing team, he has a part of the blame. I hate Tenosho. Should have trained more stamina. Come on, Maya, don't disappoint me. Should have trained more stamina. Thank God, second. That's all I needed. Shaoji is like the Nasu for the Honkai now, I guess. In a way, I think you can say that. That's not a far-fetched comparison. What pets do you think the Chu would follow? I have to think about that. I think Litost Nihility, definitely Nihility. Lantern Destruction, definitely Destruction. Selema Hunt. Seraphim Erudition. Songche,
スがあるんだよね。
honestly, either Elation or Enigmata.
頑張っちゃうぞ。
Agita Erudition. Who else do we have? Did I forget somebody? Lenter, Telema, Songche, Agita, Seraphim, Baigilitos. No, these are all.
勝利に。
注目の一番人気
ランディングキース。あやちに大勝利。
No Elation. I said that maybe Songche could be Elation. Either Elation or Enigmata. And also Seraphim could fit Enigmata in a way.
お願いします。
どんなメニュー。
Give me all the stamina.
ガラスです。
そうだね。 あ、海デート。
At least we get a mood up.
チャラだよ。さあ、価値ある時間は。
Yeah, Seraphim should be. Yeah, Harmony. I forgot about Harmony. Yeah, that's also very fitting for Seraphim.
さあ、価値ある時間をあげるわ。 そうだね。なんだ。
Yeah. Holy. Give me all the stamina. If there's something I learned about this game is that you can never have enough stamina. Especially if you want to use your Yuma for PvP. I'll say for Leader's Pride. Kiana is a pet herself.
マヤのトップガン。
これ以上ない仕上がりですね。中距離路線。
How do you forget the pet of Harmony? I mean, it's in the name of the game.
大勝利。
Harmony support trail. True. I also feel like Balji could be a Doctor of Chaos Nihility opposer. Yeah, would fit. But I went to Litos with Nihility because I feel like it fits him more. Because all he wanted was to die.
トレーナージャック。
お願いします。
そうだ。 早く早く早く。トレーニング始めようよ。 大事なレースがあるんだよね。すっごくワクワクしてきた。マヤ。
Did you notice how the shoes kinda work like Dion Pelts? Yeah, in a way. I also pointed that out with a friend right when part two started and the shoes were revealed, and that they are kinda like pets.
どうやって。
勝ちは十分に。
Come on, come on, come on.
なんか思ってたのと違う。
Last chance.
注目の3番。
Please don't disappoint me, Ayano.
惜しい。次は一番になるよ。
GG's. Should have focused more on stamina or get her more recovery skills. Mayano is a little bit tricky, same with Rice Shower, because she's one of those Umas that you really want to give a lot of stamina to. Like maybe even more stamina than speed. Rice Shower is a little bit worse, but Mayano also wants a lot of stamina. Yeah, whatever. Will you be getting Maid Lantern? Well, it depends. I know that we also get Divine Key Selector. Do you need to choose to which you spend your currency on? Because if I need to choose and I don't have enough, I will prioritize the Divine Key Selector because I want the brick for Senti. But if I only need to spend like regular spending events, then I will most likely get it because I will go for both Coralie, her gear, and also Chenshue. I bet Homolabs thought Sarah I got a edition because she owns that huge library. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was the first thing that popped into my mind. But honestly, Agita is more erudition than Seraphim. Seraphim is more harmony. Yeah, I think she requested her song again. Let me see. Yeah, she requested. She always does this. She likes to request her song, and you can also see all the Umas that liked it. I haven't tried Coralie's new battlesuit. I wanted to do a beta stream, but I wasn't feeling too well back then. And right after that, I went on vacation, so I didn't really get to the time. But I guess I will try her out when she releases on Global. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I will stop here for today. Thank you very much for joining in and for all the questions. I hope I was helpful and I was able to give you a little bit of a better understanding of the story, especially when it comes to the entire permanence thing, because I know that some people here don't play HSR and it's a little bit confusing. Anyway, I do not know when the next stream will be or what will be about, but I do know that I will have a new HSR video up by the next weekend because it's a sponsored video, so it has a deadline. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye. どんなハードなトレーニングも